Scott McKenzie is a lawyer working closely on environmental issues, specifically resource management. Right now, he is working on a project involving rights and governance over water in South Africa and Ghana. Stay tuned to find out more about his experiences abroad.
You're a lawyer. You're working on water management systems in Cape Town.
I'm kind of nerdy and geeky by heart.
Okay.
And so, like, I'm keeping a good eye on the startup space, where things are going with technology. So for a couple of years now, I've been, seeing discussion about, Bitcoin, and then kind of reading more and more about blockchain, the potential it has for really huge change in all different sectors of management. So when I was asking myself, okay, Scott, if you wanted to get into the startup space a little bit, what are the things that you're passionate about, and what are things that, could be like a legitimate viable business? And so I was saying, well, one thing I'm interested in is food, and one thing I'm interested in is I like to eat, and one thing I know a lot about is water because I'm doing a PhD on it.
Right.
So, in the water sector, I see one issue is that people have a lot of lack of trust. There's just needs to be more openness. There's a lot of concern around payment systems, who's going to pay and how a payment is going to happen. Right. So I said to myself, well, maybe blockchain is that answer. How can this be connected? And I've done a little research. I'm just not seeing a lot of water related blockchain issues coming up yet. So I said, well, maybe this is something I need to look into more.
So you said there's a lack of trust in the water market or water management. Is that like trust between customer and provider, or is it like government and local governments and where the water is sourced from?
Yeah, well, a big issue, like what I'm studying is, so I'm doing a PhD at UC, and I'm in the Institute for Resources and Environment Sustainability. But what we study is, like I said, I have a background in law, and what we study is not the engineering side quite so much, but more about the social aspects of water governance. Mm-hmm. And particularly, I'm looking at ways that people use the legal system, people in these underserved communities use the legal system or use extra legal means like protests to advance their issues with water governance.
Right.
And I'm studying here in Cape Town, and then I'm going to Accra, Ghana in a week. So a lot of the issues that people have are around, these are citizens I'm talking about here in these underserved areas. It's about services being provided. It's about transparency in the process, and it's about participation in the process. For a lot of people, it's the billing, the way that they're paying for water. It doesn't make any sense to them. They can barely really articulate and explain what's happening, and so it's, to me, it's a sign that things like billing need to really come around, and that the city utility needs to do a better job of being able to explain these are poor areas. Like, these are really poor areas. The state of South Africa has a constitutional right to water. It's a very progressive country, and so the city has installed like a tap often. For like 4 houses to share. Through the Constitution, you can get a certain amount of water free.
Right.
But after that, you need to pay.
Right.
And so they're kind of putting on these devices which, after you run over your maximum for the day, well, actually, you can kind of add it. So if you don't use all today, you can kind of use tomorrow. Right. Even within that, there's a lot of confusion. People aren't quite clear about when is it going to cut off. People don't understand how the billing is coming around for if they use more. And they don't really understand how the quantities, are being used. It's like you use it and it's done, or there's too much. You just don't know. And then after it shuts off, it doesn't kill it. It just cuts it down to like a really small trickle. The city of Cape Town's very open to, like all cities, they're getting into startups, they're getting into innovation, and particularly around water, they're at least willing to listen and be engaged on questions about how startups can improve the water situation here. Certainly, a lot of people are suggesting things that are about providing more water. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the town is about to run out of water.
Right.
So they're going to be in a state of water restrictions for years. And so the question really is, and this is something the city water managers are very focused on, though, is not about how to get more water, but just how to use the water that they do have more efficiently. And a lot of that is through reducing leaks, reducing usage. And so I think that, there's some potential there. So I want to sit down with the managers and really just sort of find out like what are some really great options, for like how we could use blockchain, or maybe there are ways that you could come up with for some sort of coin based way to sort of pay for water, pay for electricity.
It is. I mean, much like the internet, it's a wild west, right? It's the whole blockchain, Bitcoin space.
It's so hot right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people are really excited and they're interested. That, like you say, it's a little easier for bad actors to come in and to take advantage of people's excitement and people's energy. They don't really have to convince people this thing is exciting, because they're already super excited about it. So and there's a lot of potential. Like,
what message do you have for UBC students trying to find their way around the world?
Well, I think that the number one thing in all this is to search out people and to always just be open and friendly and trying to meet as many people as you can and build, kind of your personal network of people on top of this digital network that we're all kind of interested in. You have to go out, you have to get out there and, not be afraid of making a mistake or having problems or whatever. I mean, happens to everybody, but, if you can go out there and be interested and focused, you get it done. And it's interesting. I mean, I think that the startup and the community has a high tolerance for failure. So it seems like people are like, oh, I've destroyed 2 companies. Oh, only 2.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
But I learned from each of them. And that's the important part. Is that no one says like, oh, I just destroyed for fun. But it's like, well, I did this. I made some mistakes. These things were in my control. These things weren't in my control. And this is what we learned for the next time. Sometimes you kind of think about like a scientist or something. They run a lot of experiments, and even when they fail, they document it. They write it down. They make good records, and they go forward. So
I think there's a benefit to documenting just what you're doing. Have you ever considered that?
It's a good point, and I was just talking to a friend about how good it is to write notes to yourself and like to kind of record your thoughts on the day. I'm constantly meeting people and constantly sort of understanding more about the water governance here, and sometimes it's easy to just kind of finish the day and decide that I want to make dinner or whatever, but you kind of forget it the next day. So it's like, you do have to kind of, I think, write down what you're learning all the time, and then kind of go back and review those, change it, make some summaries and whatever. No, I think that's key. That's really important.
Process of self-research. But I think we'll end on that for now. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe.